Hello everyone and welcome to this evening's stream. Today we are doing something a little bit different. So, thanks for joining me, and yes, you were first, Marion, thank you. The wife is also here. Hi Amy, hi kids, hope you're behaving for your mum. So yeah, today we are going to look at Framework X, which was recently released. Framework X is a micro framework and it's aimed at being an asynchronous first framework. So from what I remember about it is that notifications, silly Mac. It uses React PHP under the hood and uses the event loop factory to make requests really fast and really quick and easy. So it's single threaded still, just like it's not something like Swool or anything like that where you've got worker threads and you're passing off to that using Swool or Roadrunner. It's just one synchronous thread and it just keeps it alive and keeps passing things. So it's a nice way to do things. But with 8.1 and fibers, it means that we can actually have non-blocking I/O, and it's amazing, right? Who doesn't want non-blocking I/O? Thanks for joining, everyone. It doesn't use Swool under the hood, no. It's just async PHP. It just uses PHP 8.1 fibers, and it uses React PHP event loop to keep things running in the background. So this is how simple it is. Hey Samuel. We build up an app. If you've ever used Slim PHP, it's very similar, or if you've used Laminas or Mezio or Silex from back in the day, all relatively similar, same category. It's a micro framework. All we've got to do is we've got to boot the app, add a root to it, and tell it to run. That clean, that simple, and it's using PSR. PSR 7 definitely. I think there's might be some other PSRs in there as well. It's great for a simple web API. Really easy, it's pretty fast. I did actually get scores of around that myself on a request per second basis, although my setup was slightly differently to that. Supports async, so you can await a query before it returns. And yeah, it's just really good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to post the link quickly up in the chat and allow people to go have a look, so I'm not just sat here scrolling through. Looks like Express. It's just a micro framework. PHP's been doing this for years. Since I've been using PHP like this for a very long time. So there's a quick start that you can use within 5 minutes. Oh, hey James, good to see you, buddy. So all you're going to do is you create a project, you add a very quick index.php file to it within public, then these are the only requirements. Then we just pull in Framework X, we set it up like that, and then we just run it using the local PHP server, and that's it. That's all it requires right now. So let's start. It's what I do. I live code. So why am I not live coding, right? So code. Tell you what, I will put this up on GitHub. We're going to make a new directory and we're going to call this Framework X test. So now what we're going to do, we're going to create a new project, come over to source files, come down to myself, this happens to me every time I create a new directory. I've got to wait a couple of minutes. Here we go. Come over to GitHub, come down to me, Framework X test, and we can start. And for some reason it's on the wrong window. So here we go. So what we're going to do is actually now we're just going to Composer require the Clue framework. I gave it a test the other day. I just followed one of the basic examples to make sure it would install, and it worked absolutely fine. Absolutely no issues with it. So we've got vendor, we've got all of our stuff here, so we can just create a very quick directory called public. And as usual, it wouldn't be a Steve stream if I didn't do typos, so bear with me while I learn how to type again. So here's our index.php. Right, it's currently stuck on 5.6 mode because in here I need to tell it to use PHP 8 and onwards. So I can use PHP 8.1. Probably what I will look to do soon. Right now I'm just going to do this. So we're just going to require directory vendor waterload. Oh, I can't even spell require right. What's going on with me today? So let's make sure we've got our browser window over here. We need to create an app. So why don't we just copy this for now? So we're going to get this, drop that in there, and the last thing is app run. So we are listening on this port. Hello world in a funny, there we go. There we go. Hello world. As you can see, hello world does appear. So one of the benefits of why people would use a micro framework like this is the speed and the simplicity and just how clean it is. It's from a code perspective, there's very, very little. What would be probably useful to look at is using something like PHP lock. Pretty sure I can just install this, right? There's a far. Nunu made one, didn't he? What did he make? I don't know if it was a Laravel specific one. We'll go to here. Let's go look for Nuno. Nunu, here he is. I'm pretty sure he made something. PHP Insights. Yeah, this was it. PHP Insights. Composer required dev. So let's just quickly install that. And then all you've got to do is run it. It's really simple. There's barely anything in this. So it's something that we can use to look at later. So while we've got this running in the background, does it work with PHP 8.1? I tell you what, let's switch. PHP 8.1. I always get a complaint when I do this. I don't know whether it's just complaining about FPM. So currently I'm on PHP 8.1. Library not loaded. Okay, so it's having an issue for some reason with 8.1 locally, and I'm not too sure why. So it will work with 8.1, but my machine seems to be having a funny 5 minutes. So if we just run that quickly, And if I just grab that, what we can do, we can just run a quick Apache benchmark. So if you've not used Apache benchmark before, you can do AB. It had something in the docs for that, didn't it? Where was it? Minus N. Minus N is number of requests. Minus C is how many concurrent requests. Don't know what minus K is. So why don't we just run that? So we've got minus. What's minus K going to be? What's that going to give us? Shout out if you see a K. Keep alive feature. Oh, okay. I didn't know that worked. So now if I run, I want to do 1,000 requests. I want 10 concurrent. I want to keep it alive, and I'm going to go to there. So we are getting 16,000 requests a second. 17,000. That is pretty fast, you know, compared to something else. I'm quite impressed at that. Oh, you know, I can't remember which homebrew tap I used for PHP in the end. I'll have to look at my dot files, to be honest. But as you can see, I'm obviously getting a lot of requests. So let me split that down, and let's see if I can I get a new warp window. New window. Yes, I can. So code. Framework X test. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to quickly split this across the window. I'm going to put that on the right. And I'm going to put this one on the left. So let's give ourselves some space. So let's run it again. As you can see, a lot of requests are going through right there. I've actually got a shortcut for this. I called it bench. It's one of my aliases. This one is obviously doing less requests a second, but the reason it's doing less requests a second is because it isn't using the minus K. So if I go back here, go into my dot files, shell. If I just quickly go to my aliases, go right down to the bottom, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to increase this. I'm going to do 10,000 requests, 50 concurrent requests, and we get append the K on there. So what that's going to do is, this is my little alias here. I'll paste that in the chat for you so you can see it. And all this is doing, it's a nice little alias which allows me to very quickly run the Apache benchmark. So I can run it again and we're good. We're back to 17,000. That's pretty good. That is not bad for a local server running something really simple like that. That's not bad. So what does it mean? You know, 16,000 requests a second is only useful if it's something good, right? So let's have a look. This is just doing a HTTP response at the moment. Almost added too many T's there. So the way that we add a different sort of response here is that we have to add that content type of application JSON, and that means that our body has to be a new string of JSON in code, and we're just going to pass a message of hello world. So now if we come back here, cancel that, we rerun it, and what's our bench going to say now? Still 17,000. But if we come to here, we've got JSON coming back instead. How does it know the URL? Okay, so bench is just doing it to here. So you've got your PHP built-in server running this very specific script, and all we're doing is hitting that script to see what it does. Because when we hit that script, it's an index.php file. It's just going to run the app and show us in the background. How does it know the URL to send the request to? How does that compare to Laravel? So compared to Laravel, it's a bit slower. Yeah, but there's no doubt about that. But Laravel is a fully fledged framework. You don't expect a micro framework to be as fully featured as something like Laravel, which has got a huge, a really useful service container. It's got broadcasting to WebSockets. It's got an event system. It's got an ORM. It's got a queue system. It's got everything baked into the core. What you're getting with this micro framework is a place to start. So if we come through the docs, we can have a look through some of this. So we can, there's integrations for like the database. We can use an await function. I haven't even tried this yet, so this could be fun. There's file system, still under construction. So this is still a very new framework, bear in mind. So what else have we got? Authentication, sessions, queuing. So there's stuff that's going to be going on pretty soon. But you can use fibers, using await, creating a lazy connection, and then using a await function to create a fiber to talk to the MySQL. A coroutine, you can yield, and you can, I'm assuming how that works is it's just some magic under the hood. So it's generator based coroutines. Okay, cool. That's a smart way to do it. So let's just build something really, really simple, really basic. Tell you what we'll do. This will be an interesting test. Let's do. This is framework X, right? Something really simple, something really small. It doesn't take up a lot of space. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a slim test. It is similar. You can't really compare Node and PHP because it's very much apples and oranges. It's a hard balance between the two, if I'm honest. So I'm just going to composer require slim. I'm on 4.9 of PHP Slim now. So let's create a new directory. Public. And let's reload that from disk. And then inside public, we're going to go to index.php. Hey buddy, how you doing? So let's just declare some strict types. And we're going to set this to PHP 8 as well. Can't believe 8.1 came out today. That's absolutely mental. So happy about that. So let's come here and let's just look at a Slim framework. Ooh. So what we can do an app factory create. But first, obviously, vendor auto load needs to be pulled in, and what we're going to do, we're going to do something relatively similar. We're not going to. We're just going to do that. Let's just grab that and pull that in. There we go. So there's hello world. So we've got two frameworks, and what we're going to do is going to undo this one. So this is just going to do hello world as well. Clean and simple. So our two frameworks. This is framework X. And now if we benchmark that, we're getting roughly 17,000 requests a second from that, like 18,000 requests a second from that framework. So if we come back and we go into the Slim test, and if we run PHP public index, okay. So you need a little bit more setup on Slim. I haven't set it up in a little while. Installation, installing Slim, then we need a PSR implementation quickly. So let's just quickly grab that and stick that in there. That'll handle that. And that is all I should need. So now I come to here. It went, I'm just not paying attention tonight, am I? Name, go away. Not interested. There's no args, there's no nothing. It is simply just what it is. Okay. So here is we also need to that's not going to work, is it? So here's a local server for Slim. So now if we run bench again, and we need to swap that to localhost a second. We are getting failures apparently. So that's working, but apparently on Apache Bench it was just telling me no. So here we go. So now we're hitting another one. As you can see, 2,000 requests a second, 2,500 requests a second. Now that's still fast. This is, 50 concurrent requests, doing 10,000 requests. It's obviously frozen and died for some reason. Here we go. For some reason it just decided it wanted to die. Benchmarking, be patient. I'm trying to be patient. So as you can see, the difference is quite dramatic. This one only had Slim on average is getting a few thousand requests a second, which for micro framework is good. It is good speed, but what we're seeing is the benefit of sort of like framework X. What that gives us is it's giving us more speed. So here is another micro framework. What is that going to be on? There we go. This one's not bad. This one's 14,000 requests a second. It's hanging though, but because of the way that it's running the PHP inbuilt server. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so this one, so if I just let's come down a second and we just, it's failing because it's detecting that. Let's update. Cool. Nope. And now we'll run it again. So compared to framework X, it's slow. Don't get me wrong. It is, 5,000 requests a second. It's hanging. Syntax error and okay. So, little secret is that this is a random framework that I started creating for fun. It's still fast in the right circumstances. I was getting 14,000 requests a second, but it is no Framework X, and that is for definite. So if I run that, what are we running on? 127. Yeah, 17,000 requests a second. That's impressive, right? So, ignoring anything else about it, is fast. Why would we use it? It's going to give us that speed that we want. If we're going to build a small service that's handling connections and we're entering that microservices world, do we want, maybe we don't want serverless. We could use Laravel Vapor and that would be fine if that fits what you need. We could just use PHP and Bref PHP and just keep things really lightweight and minimal, and that would also work fine. But if you've got a long running service and you don't want serverless, then what are your choices for scale? And I think what Framework X is offering here is an opportunity to get some benefits from the speed of asynchronous PHP. So we've got a really good philosophy. It's all about making things quick and easy and hot swappable. So some best practices that we've got. You can use a controller apparently. So here we go. You just new up a controller apparently. So let's try that. Let's try and create a controller. So let's close out that Slim test because we're not talking about Slim tonight. And we're going to create a new directory. We're going to call that source. So I'm going to compose a JSON file. We need to auto load this. So let's auto load. Obviously this is going to be PSR4. And we're just going to call it app. Nice and clean, nice and simple. And we're going to put it in the source directory. So let's just quickly run an npm update so it gets that auto loaded. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go HTTP. Now, depending on what framework you're using, depends on what you'd call these. They're request handlers in micro frameworks typically. So that's kind of what I call them. But here we go. Let's just try this. Test handler namespace app HTTP handlers done. Just declare some strict types. So what can we do? It just needs to be able to be invoked, doesn't it? So public function invoke. So there we go, we can invoke this and it just needs to return a React response. So return new response and we are going to use the React HTTP message response. And what it needs a status code. So status is, well, while we're here, we may as well, right? Suppose we require HTTP status code. I may as well use my typical approach to doing this. We're going to say that is okay. So what's the next thing that we want? We've got headers. So this is kind of a very batteries not included approach to doing it. And then obviously the body is, we're just going to JSON encode an array that says ping and that time. And we're going to set that content type to be application JSON. It's really clean, really simple. It's not doing anything, right? It's really just lightweight stuff. So down here, instead of doing that, it tells us it wants to just drop in a new test handler. Simple. So let's come back to here. Let's run it. And still 17,000 requests a second. Looking good. So what happens if I come here? As you can see, time is changing. I'm getting more requests. Yeah. Clean and simple. So when I first saw this come out, I thought it would be useful to look at, because sometimes Laravel's too much for what you need. Sometimes you want something a little bit smaller, a little bit more kind of hot swappable component with a PSR, so you can say, okay, just pull in this container, just pull in that really lightweight PDO connection, and let's just get data, pass it back as we need to. Let's just keep it clean and light. There are times when you need something like that, and I personally think Framework X is gonna be perfect for that. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have a quick dive into it next. So in the documentation, it's got ways that it tells you should test. So let's just. I don't think testing is important for this. We don't need to test this. This is just a trial. Let's just see how it works. So here's our app. Here's our router. Really clean, really light. Doesn't really do much. It's got your HTTP verbs. You can do some redirects. Controllers are really clean and simple. Middleware also allows you to extract common functionality to HTTP login, session handling, blah blah blah. So you can go look at the middleware. Cool, perfect. So middleware is any piece of logic that will wrap around your request handler. You can add any number of middleware handlers to each route. To get started, let's look at basic middleware handler by adding additional callable before the final controller. So here is your middleware, and here is your controller. So it looks to me that this is not quite PSR 15, because it hasn't got like that middleware pipeline in the background. Oh, apparently my wife's messaging me. Cool. Okay. So apparently my son is struggling a little bit tonight. He's gone quiet for now, but if he pipes up again, I might have to just put the stream on pause a minute, fix him, and come back. So as I was saying, we take a string root, that's our path, then we've got a handler and then other handlers afterwards, and it sounds like what it's doing is passing it through a pipeline in the background. So let's have a look. Run loop. Otherwise run once. So it's got a HTTP server, handler request. On an error it's going to die, that's fine. Okay, so that's kind of clean. It is relatively simple. It isn't doing anything out of the ordinary for a micro framework. Got a middleware handler. It's just piping things through a middleware handler from the looks of it. That's not bad. It's got an error handler. Yeah, you know what? This is actually quite nice. The way that it works, you go middleware, loop, instantiate with an optional loop, invalid loop argument. Okay, so that's cool. I mean, it would be nice to see some of this more fleshed out. You know, this is a new framework. It's very, very, very new. Not long come out. There's not a lot of information about it. It's just something we've got to keep our eye on, really. Under the hood, it's working nicely. But what I'd like to do is do something just that little bit more. I wouldn't mind seeing it do that a little bit more, like having to new up my controller there. It'd be nice if I could just kind of pass that in as a string, you know what I mean? Like you do in other frameworks. Let's see if it works or if it's going to complain. No. Argument must be a type of callable string given. So it hasn't got any dependency injection, which is, yeah, obviously a downside. You know, anytime you build anything, you need some sort of DI, but it's starting. It's a beta release of the framework. It's not a, you know, it's not a stable release for people to start pushing into production. But you know, there is some stuff that we can do. You know, we can start ferrying HTTP requests, and we can start just requesting things as we need to. It'd be nice to be able to resolve things out of a container. I mean, Slim's done that from the get-go, but it was never as fast. It was never as fast as Framework X. Not, you know, without using an extra extension like Swool or pulling down Roadrunner and running a Golang worker in the background to ferry requests to worker pools. You know, we're not going to get the speed. So it's nice to see something like this, which is pure PHP and this speed in PHP, and I think it shows a lot of promise. But one thing I would probably do myself is this is fine. It's not how I'd like to do it though, so I'd probably extract and do my own thing here. So in here we're just going to do like a JSON response, for example. So let's add that namespace of app HTTP, and yes, I know there's a typo. There it is. There's always a typo when I code, always. So public function construct. So what we want to do here is we want to kind of what is this doing? This is extending a PSR7 response. And we just want to extend, don't we? Evening, Nathan. Thanks for joining, buddy. So the one thing that I don't like is, I'm just going to do this one. So we're going to extend this, the JSON response. Oh, it's a final class. Yeah, buggers. Okay. I see how it is. Okay, so instead, can't extend that, which is fine. We don't mind that. But what we can do instead, we can just do like a response factory method. So, okay, we're going to get this. The arguments that we're going to take into this is going to be the same. So what I typically do in anything else is the first thing that I would pass through is the data. So here's my data. The next thing that I'd want to pass through is any headers, and then the last thing would be the status code itself. And what I'll do is we're going to set that to a default of HTTP OK. So here's like a basic how I would start to use this framework if I was to use it on a project right now and just to play with it more than anything. I don't think it's quite ready for production. Yeah, it's almost like we're pair programming, Nathan, when you just watch while you're coding along. So what we can do, we can return a new response, and this takes status as its first argument, which is fine. The next one is body, so we know we can JSON encode the data. We're just going to JSON pretty print it for flags, and then headers is any headers that are passed through to us. And what we can do, we can say that this is a default of an empty array, and we'll just quickly resort those arguments, and that, you know, that's a nice little abstraction. So what our handlers can now do instead of having to return a new response and having to JSON encode it in your controller, you can pass that, add some data, which is an array, and let's just import that quickly. Means we don't need, oh yeah, we kind of do need that. So let's just sort those arguments, and we don't need to pass that status because it's a default. So there we go. Suddenly, quick and clean. Yeah, it's PSL with finals sprinkled in a few places, right? Yeah. Well, you know, it's what I do it for Nathan. You know, you just join and see what we can do. But yeah, that is, to me, that's pretty good. You know, that to me is something that I would happily ship if I wanted something just to tell me the time, obviously. And all I'm doing is slightly abstracting away from that core framework of framework X to allow me to return the responses in a way that I'd want to. I'd want that separate JSON response and HTML response. I like that, having that availability to do that differently. Yeah, small headless APIs and internal stuff is, you know, this would be perfect, especially with the speeds we're getting. Like, you know, with that abstraction, is it going to make any difference? No, we're still getting 17,000 requests a second, happily, easily. Expert. No, this is. I'm on PHP 8 because 8.1 just keeps crapping out, if I'm honest. So, tell you what I'll do. Let's stop that. Let's try and switch again for the benefit of anybody new joining. So that's because I'm using Laravel Valley in the background. That shouldn't cause any issues. So it's complaining about libraries not being loaded. It's the first time it's done it to me. It's a bit of a pain. I was using it absolutely fine until release day. You could add the header to yeah. That you are absolutely right there. That was just me being lazy. Thank you for calling me out on that one. So let's stop my laziness a minute. And on the JSON response here, we're going to have some default headers. So what we could probably do here default headers, and within there we could probably just grab that, drop it in there. Let's do a quick array merge of default headers and the headers that are passed in. There we go, nice and clean. meaning that on our test handler. We also don't actually need to pass that in. So what we've got to do now is pass over the data that we want to use. And again, we are good to go. Still getting those requests that we wanted. Pretty printers coming through. Hey Mark. Hey Catherine. So yeah, this Framework X, it's fun. Yeah. What more can we do with it right now? I don't know if async stuff's going to work. We could have a look. I haven't got a database set up really, I don't think. Let's have a look. Have I got anything I can connect to locally? Apparently I do. Cool, so let's give it a go. Let's have a look at this. So, in our test handler up here, usually what I'd do is I'd do this in DI, a lot of this stuff, but because this hasn't got DI right now, this isn't going to be the right way to do things, for the record. So please bear that in mind. Please bear that in mind. React MySQL Factory. Let's see. Do I need to install anything to start with? React. Yeah, apparently I need to install something. So async database. So what I need is React MySQL, React PHP MySQL. Friends of React PHP MySQL. Cool. We got something. No, I've already got one. I don't need a SQLite database. It's fine. No need. So where's the installs? Where's the install instructions? Where you hide them? Install. Why is install at the bottom? That shouldn't be at the bottom. You silly sausages. Here we go. Let's just install that. So that's installing. That's fine. So now if I come back to the factory, in theory I should be able to import the MySQL factory. Here is my credentials apparently. So let's drop that like that and then create lazy connection, and that's going to take a URI, which is apparently going to be that. Obviously this is the wrong way to do it if it was in production. Please do bear that in mind. I think it was root, and what we're going to do is we're just going to go to my local database there, and we're just going to see. This is going to return a connection interface, so we can have a DB there. So before I do too much with that, I'm just going to make sure that it doesn't like die on me. So now we can bench. We're actually making database connection on each request now. It's still not dying on me, which is nice. Always nice to see. So let's go back and let's just see how they suggested to it. So here's that. So result is that data found something. Okay, let's just do this, and we'll customize it out into the way that we need it to be. So await this DB and this await. We're going to import that function. Apparently we're not. We're going to say use function React async await. Okay. Apparently we need another dependency. Perhaps, or is it because I'm not using fibers? Is this a separate package? It could be. Yeah, I don't know if this part's going to work, unfortunately. That's a bit of a pain, isn't it? So what we'll do, we'll just do it this way instead. Let's do a database, normal database connection, and the SQL that we want to run is this isn't how you write SQL. Anybody watching this, do not write your SQL like this. Please. And we want to select everything from the is it streams? Let's go double check. What did I call it? Videos. Select everything from videos, and let's just do that. Let's just quickly do a var dump and die on what that result is, because I don't actually know how it's going to come back, because I've never used their specific library here. So now if I come over to here, is it going to get that connection through to the database nicely? Is it going to fall over itself? Okay, it's var dumping everything into here. That isn't what I wanted. Wow. So yeah, that happened. Not quite what I had in mind, I'm not going to lie. Not really what I thought I was going to be doing. So the query is going to return a promise interface. Not really what I want. So let's come back to here. Connection ping. This query then query result. Okay, that's going to return a promise. That's just weird. Okay, so then the callable is going to accept a query result. They called it a command, so we'll call it a command too. And then that command, get rows. So can I just like return command result rows? So now, is this going to die on me? This is interesting, isn't it? It's a bit different for me. Okay, so we're not dying there. Yeah, I'm going to get back to that, Catherine. Don't worry. Result rows, which is an array, so I can then just say data is result. We hope. Oh, okay. So argument data must be a correct promise given. Why? What's result now? Promise interface result. Cancel, done, otherwise progress. Is it? Yeah, the issue is there's no await, so that's causing an issue there. Oh. Okay, so I can't show you that. That's a shame. That would have been fun. That would have been fun. So we'll just play a bit of ping pong instead. There we go. Not quite what I had in mind. Obviously, if I had 8.1 up and running and await was working and all of that, that would have been nice to play with. So we'll just leave it at that. So how else would you use this, and why would you use it? So if you were working on, put the response inside, that could have worked actually, yeah. I think that'll work. Let's try it. We have some suggestions, so we're going to give it a go. So instead of that, you're suggesting to do this. Am I correct? And then we wouldn't be doing that. There's one way to tell, right? Yeah, no. That wasn't it. That definitely wasn't it. So, letting value in the thing. Yeah, okay, good point, good point. So basically we just want to do that, and then okay, we got something. That won't bubble out because that gives... you got a point. Okay, I'm just going to completely ignore that because I'm getting lost in something that wasn't the idea of the stream. if we're completely honest. We just wanted to look at Framework X, right? So let's just delete that. We'll worry about doing something with that another time, I think. So if I was to use this, I would probably want it to be really, really minimal. Something just small. I hate to say the to-do app, but something like a to-do app, something where I'm just shipping things here and there, and that's it. So, how else would I use this? I mean, personally, anytime I use a micro framework, what I typically do is I wrap their application in something else. Ooh. Should be okay. So all you need to do is yield the promise. Okay. Okay. We'll give it a go. We have the author in the house. So just yield this, right? Yeah, it says to use fibers. I haven't got fibers because I haven't got PHP 8.1 available right now. It is being a little bit of a pain, without lying. So generate a return type response given in test handle line 26. So if I just ignore that, weird. Okay. So I've definitely not set that up properly. Yeah, well, I'm getting well away from the point of this stream here, aren't I? And because it's a shorter stream, I don't want to get too lost in details. That isn't the point. The whole point of this is to just test it, give a teaser, see what it's like. And I've spoken to the library author. He would have joined me today, but he's a bit crazy busy this week. He's in the chat, but he hasn't got time to join me because juggling things and too much going on. I totally understand that. So what we're going, this is just a teaser, the what and the why, the how, and what I would typically do at this stage is, if this was me working with this framework, I would probably do something like, create a new class, namespace app service. My PHP Storm is just not liking me tonight, is it? So I'd have a service, and what I'd probably do at this point is in here I would have a protected Framework X app, and I'd just inject it in there. So what I'd do, instead of building up this new app, I'd probably do something like this: protected function construct, and I'd have a public static function. I want to build my service. Return a service itself, because this is my implementation at this point, and return new service where that app is a new app. Control it that way. So that what we have down here instead is, instead of having an app, our service then goes service build done. Simplify that. This is exactly what I do in if I'm working with something like Slim PHP, for example. So in this service here, we've then got that. We have a new service. Return that service. What I'd probably do at this stage is do something like this app. I'd load in routes here somehow, and I would set this to the new test handler. Service app, test handler. Why is it complaining? You're probably right. So there we go. That is that. Means we can get rid of that. And then we have a service that we can just boot. So what we'd do is public function boot. That's not going to return. So what we can do is just say this app run. What I'd be doing in here, this is where I'd load my routes in through something. Don't know what it would be, but it would be something. And then our application bootstrapping is turned into something really simple, really repeatable. And then our service here is what we customize. Maybe we've got like a directory in here called routes, and we have a PHP file called routes, and in here we simply just return an array where we have the path, an array of that, and the handler is the test handler class. So then what we can do is in our service down here instead is we can load those routes. Yeah, usually what I'd do, I'd use, I've actually got a package for this, I think. Packages.org. config loader. Here we go. Simple config loader. All you do is you give it a base path, and it will just load things for you. So there's our config loader. So now what I need to do is here, loader is a new loader. There's my config loader, and it's going to take an argument of base path. So we can go for the current directory, which is source, go back, go into roots, and we're good. So then we can do a for each loader load all as root. What we're going to have here is, if we just quickly var dump and die, because this is us doing, defining our own convention, right? So now this should, in theory, be my root. If I was to run this and call config load, could not load config files from. Okay, I didn't go far back enough. Still not working. Ah. Okay. I did go back enough. I just put the wrong too many dots in, did I? Here we go. Array object null given in. So here's our roots. Base path. Roots. Returning an array. Catch a throwable exception, and let's just throw that exception. Argument must be of type array, no given in. Strange. There's our loader. That should be fine. So at this point we can. I see why dine dumps become so helpful for me. So we've got a config loader. Haven't got any config. So if I just quickly var dump on load roots, what's it gonna do? Null. Okay, it's failing to find it for some reason. I don't know why it's being such a pain, but you get the idea, right? I'm just trying to debug it. Don't worry. Don't worry yourself about it, Catherine. This isn't how I do things. I'm playing and I'm debugging. We're testing something out, seeing if we could do something. So instead, what we'll do, because that loader's just not working, we're going to do something a bit simpler. We're just going to say roots is include oh, wait a minute, no. I don't need to do that. So, the execution path. So, okay, if I dump this a second, so I'm already in source. So instead, what I need to do, I only need to go back the once into roots. That means I should be able to just grab that. If I okay, just ignore me. Just ignore me. Okay, for each current directory, I'd build something up a little bit different to this. Would go back into roots. If we include that quickly. There we go. We got a path and a string. So what we can do is we can say this app will map, or service app methods. So if I go to here, what I'd probably do as well is methods. Just add a get in there. Root path. The handler would be right, and hopefully this will get a point. The long drawn out process, which I was trying to get back round to. Apparently not. Fast route, bad route. I think it's 2 routes matching. Okay. There we go. Finally got back round to my point. That's benchmarking, that is working. And the point I was trying to get at is within this build method, I would start building up how my app wants to work. Typically I wouldn't do this. I'd do something a little bit different, but the concept still applies. So that my application itself is really simple and it's really clean, and everything can be done on a very simple configuration basis. I know that my handlers go here, I know that my routes are registered here, and the app will just handle it. That's all we need to worry about. The app will handle it and it runs. You know, it's an abstraction on top of it to make it a little bit cleaner for working with. That is all. And that was the point of what I was trying to get at. I mean, you can go further. You could start to make specific classes like resource classes, or you could pull in like League Fractal and use something like that if you wanted to. Yeah, it's just be a little bit fun. That's all. That was the point of tonight, just to try out a new framework. It's a short stream to try out a framework because I am moving house this weekend. I just wanted to have a little bit of fun, try something and see how everyone got on. No messages from my wife about the boy. Cool. So yeah, that was the idea. Small micro framework X is very fast, very useful. And as soon as I can get PHP 8.1 running, I will definitely enjoy trying some of this await stuff, but until then I'm a little bit stuck, unfortunately. Bit of a pain, but what can you do, right? So that is me pretty much done. If anyone's got any questions before I disappear, then, you know, let me know. I'll give it 5 minutes and then we'll close this off and I will carry back on. While I'm waiting, I'm going to do one more thing. So if I just did a composer require, I'm just going to use the Laravel container because it requires less bootstrapping for me right now. So there's a container. So here's my service. Don't need that. Don't need that. We're good. So here's our that, and we're just gonna nope, that's not gonna work, is it? Protected. Just gonna add that one. Yeah, I'm using PHP Storm. So in our build here, what I'd probably do is let's get a new instance of that container. There we go. Not bad. Looking in the wrong place. I've been doing TypeScript all day, so my head's just, I don't know where it's gone. I don't know where my head has gone tonight. So, okay. So for example, what I can now do is I can do here this container make that handler or service, sorry, should I say. Service container make, and we're good. So back to it. Let's see if there's any speed difference. Now I've added like a bit of a big container. Okay, legal offset type is set to empty, eliminate container. Okay, that's not me. I didn't break it. So we go. So we can say that the handler is going to be that. Try to create it, and what we want to do is we want to die early at this stage. This is where I would want to catch that exception, because that's early in that boot, which means I can then just come back to the handler, and we should. I don't know why it's complaining. You know what? You are absolutely right. I don't actually need that new. It's complaining about that, isn't it? There we go. So, still 17,000 requests a second. That is pretty good still, considering I've now added somewhat of a weightier. Yeah, sorry, Kevin. My brain's been in TypeScript React land all day, so I'm failing to see PHP for what PHP is here. So, for example, in here, I could now have something in my constructor. And let's say we just do something like, what am I doing? Return this. So this data is an array, and time there, and we can say that protected array data there. And what we'll do down here instead is we would do this data But instead, what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick array merge. We're going to merge the data with now as well. So we can have a start and the end. Nothing crazy, nothing exciting. So it's taking, as you can see, each request coming through is now updating. So what we're seeing here is how the React PHP stuff is working. So all we've got is, this is when the original request came through, the first request came through, and now all subsequent requests are coming through and resetting a new time. However, that original one doesn't need to. And that's it. So I'm going to call it a day at that one. I'm going to go, I've actually got to jump on a quick call with Marion, I believe. But other than that, I'm going to spend a little bit of time with my wife and get ready for moving this weekend. Thanks for having me again. Down below there's Discord, feel free to join. I'd love to chat you on there. Next week I might not be streaming because I don't know if I've got internet at the new house yet, so keep an eye on Twitter. I'll let people know, and in Discord I'll let you know probably before Twitter. So yeah, thanks for coming. That was Framework X. As you can see, it's kind of fun. Without PHP 8.1, it's just React PHP in a framework. With 8.1, you can then do more. But that's how I would approach building it. So give me a shout sometime if you want a hand with it. Or the author is going to join us soon. But thanks very much. Have a good night. Take care of yourselves.